This is 14.2 Client 2. I found out some personal details of my client and then asked them some general questions on their life. I also did a PAR-Q on them, and I found out that she smokes and drinks, she lives on her own, works a lot and doesn't sleep much, doesn't eat much fruit or veg and mostly eats fast food. The barriers to her exercise would be the amount that she works and having limited time, and that she doesn't participate in any exercise. My client's targets was to have lost half a pound in weight after 3 weeks, by the end, by the end of the 6 weeks to have lost the whole pound, to improved in her cardiovascular system. My client wants to improve her cardiovascular endurance and also help her lose weight so that her appearance is better. Before we start this program, my client was not participating in any exercise at all and her diet isn't healthy. She's going to be at a very unhealthy stage and is going to struggle to get into this program. With this, I'm going to make sure that I don't expect too much for her in the first couple of weeks and don't work her too hard that it puts her at a risk. This will mean that the sessions will be at a lower intensity and shorter duration at the start of the program, just so that I can ease her into the exercise and let her feel comfortable with it. With this, we do have a goal, and I'll do everything I can to get my client to reach this goal. So therefore, will not let her have it too easy that it isn't having a big enough effect on her. I will also have to make sure that my client is eating the right meals and while doing this program. This will also affect the outcome massively. I've decided to do continuous training, fartlek training, interval training, circuit training in the first week because these are all different types of trainings for her cardiovascular endurance, and that they all target different parts of her cardiovascular endurance. For example, continuous training is working at a moderate pace for a long period, whereas fartlek training is like continuous, but also interval as it's continuous sprint, but at different paces. Whereas interval training is running at different paces with rest in between, and then circuit training is doing a certain amount of things certain amount of different things all in a row, and then having a rest and then doing them all again and doing that a certain amount of times. On Monday, we will start with continuous training for my client. We will start by performing a warm-up that consists of dynamic stretches like lunges, open the gate, hamstring sweeps, etc. This whole session is just going to be quite an easy laid back session, all on a bike in a gym. I will just get my client to go at a steady pace on the bike for a duration of 30 minutes. This is purely based on the fact that my client's body will not be used to exercise and isn't ready for full-on intense sessions. So I'm just starting off with an easy session to get us started. I will, however, every 10 minutes just put the resistance up by 1 or 2 every time, just so it makes it a little harder and a bit more of a challenge. On Tuesday, my client will have a rest day due to her needing at least 3 rest days a week so that we aren't working her too hard and that she's able to rest and be able to work harder in the other sessions. However, I will suggest for my client to do some foam rollings, especially that she participate in exercise the day before for the first time in a long time. She's going to be aching badly, especially on her legs, and her foam rolling will help these pains and ease them a bit and allow for movement in her legs. So I will suggest this for every every rest day. On Wednesday, we will then perform fartlek training. This will not be performed in the gym, and this time be outside on the running track, and to do with running at different paces throughout. My client will start with a 5-minute warm up where she will just do stretches covering her whole body and do the same stretches she did in her previous session, as it involves the same muscle groups and movement just in a different way. We will then start by getting her to do a full lap of the 100-meter track as part of the warm up, just so she's just at a steady pace. This will then be followed by 60 seconds of flat out sprinting, followed by 150 seconds jog. Then after that, back to sprint but for 45 seconds, and then for a jog for 120 seconds. Then my client will get 5 minutes rest and repeat this 3 times. This will then be followed by a cool down where my client will perform static stretches like holding of their leg behind the bum and calf sweeps, but holding them for a longer duration, etc. On Thursday is another one of the 3 rest days where I suggest my client to do foam rolling during the day in her spare time to prevent aching or DOMS, and if possible just to go out for a 20 to 30 minute walk or jog, as this will be good for her and her body. And then on Friday we'll go back to exercise where we'll do interval training. In this we will use the stairs at the ground where the running track is. My client will need to perform the same warm-up as she did for the other sessions. Then I'll get my client to run to halfway up the stairs and then back to the bottom, then to the 3/4 up the stairs and then back, and eventually to the very top and back down to the bottom. My client will then get a minute rest where she will then have to perform 10 burpees and get another minute's rest where she will have to repeat what she just did again, and will perform this 4 times. This will then be followed by a normal cool down that she performed on the session on Wednesday. Then on Saturday my client will be performing circuit training. My client will start with a warm up where she will jog from one line to another, being 20 minutes apart, and do this 5 times. My client will need to do the same stretches as she usually does, then she'll be fully ready for the session where it will start with her performing shuttle sprints where the 2 marks are 20 meters apart and running there and back is 1 rep, and she'll perform 5 reps. Then she'll get 30 seconds rest, and then we'll have to perform 25 tuck jumps. This is where you have to jump up and tuck your legs in at the same time. Once again, she will get 30 seconds rest where she will then perform 25 sit-ups and finish with 15 burpees. She will get 3 minutes rest and then have to repeat everything again and perform this 3 times. On Sunday, this is her final rest day. On Monday we will be carrying on with continuous training, but varying up what we were doing in this session. So last week we started off easy for my client and got her to just do a steady state pace cycle on a bike in the gym, but this time I'll be getting her to do it outside in the local park where it'll just be jogging based. Before we start this though, we need to do a warm up and prepare my client properly for the activity. My client will start in the middle of two cones, both around 5 meters either side of her. Then I'll call out right or left, and then she will have to turn and sprint out to past that cone. I will do this from 7 to 10 times. Then my client will perform stretches on the quads, hamstring, glutes, calves and arms. Then my client will be ready for the main activity where she will be jogging around the track in the local park. She will be doing this for 20 minutes at a relaxed pace, and for the final 10 minutes I'll push her to jog at a quick pace where I will jog with her and try and get her to stay at my pace, and I'll push her through it. Then once this is done, I'll get her to perform half a lap of just a slow walk with big strides as a cool down. This will act partly as a cool down as well, where we will then go on to static stretches on the quads, hamstring, calves, glutes, shoulders and arms. These will consist of stretches like the lunge, calf sweeps and tricep stretch, shoulder rotation, shoulder stretch, etc. On Tuesday, this is my client's rest day. On Wednesday, my client will be carrying on with her fartlek training. We will start with a warm-up where my client will have to start by doing some dynamic stretches on her quads, hamstring, calves, such as lunges, hamstring, sweeps, etc. Then my client will perform a quick pulse raiser where I'll get 4 cones out, all different colours, and we'll get her to stand in the middle of them all, and then I'll call out a colour and she will have to sprint and touch the cone, that colour that is, and I'll do this until she's fully warmed up. Then we'll be ready to perform the main activity. This will start with a 1 minute jog followed by a 3 minute moderate to hard sprint, then back to a 1 minute jog, then 3 minute hard sprint, then a 5 minute jog. Once this has been performed, she will get a 3 minute rest, and then we'll have to repeat this exercise again. Once this has been completed, we will end the session with a cool down to prevent DOMS or risk of injury. We will just perform static stretches on the hamstring, quads, glutes, calves, shoulders and arms. These will consist of stretches like the lunge, calf sweeps, and then tricep stretch, shoulder rotation, shoulder stretch, etc. On Thursday is another one of my client's rest days. On Friday we will be carrying on with interval training. She will have to perform the same warm she did last week for this session, and then we'll be ready for the session to start, where we will get my client to jog for 3 minutes and then sprint for 60 seconds. They will do this round the track and I will blow a whistle when the 3 minutes is up. They will then get 2 minutes rest and we'll repeat this 4 times. Then we will end the session with a cool down where my client will perform a slow 2-minute walk followed by some statics, some stretches on the quads, hamstring, glutes and calves. On Saturday, we will be back in the gym where my client will be doing circuit training. She will have to start with a warm-up where she will do stretches on the quads, hamstring, glutes, calves, shoulders, arms and back. Then my client will have to perform a circuit. The first part of the circuit is step-ups where she will have to step up onto a bench and back down. This will then be followed by dumbbell squats, straddle jumps where she does step-ups but sideways and go in one leg at a time and over the other side. The final part will be on the treadmill where she will have to do a jog. Each part will be done for 30 seconds and she will get 1 minute rest and have to repeat the exercise another 3 times. Then she will do a cool down that will consist of a 2-minute jog on the treadmill and then static stretches on the same muscle groups as she did in the warm-up. I meant that she was supposed to do a 30-second sprint on the treadmill, sorry, not jog. On Sunday it's our final rest day of the week, so we won't be doing any exercise. On Monday we'll be changing up this week from continuous to HIIT training. I've decided to do this due to the fact that it prevents tedium and will also help my client meet their goals in different ways. As doing continuous training, this is the same as the other kind of trainings, whereas when we do HIIT training, I'm able to focus more on gaining muscle around the body as well as cardiovascular endurance, as continuous training only targets cardiovascular endurance. It is a good way for my clients to target both weight loss and muscle gain, as we do not target muscle gain as much due to it not being a target of my client, but it is also a way of losing body fats and will help towards her overall goal. We will start the session with a normal warm-up with dynamic stretches on the quads, hamstring, calves, glutes, shoulders, chest and arms like we have in the previous sessions. Then we'll start on the treadmill with a 5-minute warm-up. Then my client will run for 1 minute at 7 miles per hour, followed by 2 minutes at 5.5 miles per hour, and then repeat this 4 times. Then once this is done, we'll go on to the second part where she will walk for 1 minute at an easy pace for recovery, followed by a run for 30 seconds at 10 to 12 miles per hour, followed by 1 minute at 4 miles per hour, and she'll repeat this 4 times, then finish the session with a light walk for 5 minutes to act as a cool down. Then on Tuesday, this is my client's rest day. On Wednesday, we'll do the first weight training session for my client. The reason why we aren't doing too many weight training sessions is because it's not my client's goal to put on muscle, but it can also help towards losing body fats and being fitter in general, which is my client's goal. We'll start with bicep curls, where she will use 5 kg weights on each arm and be done in sets of 2 with 8 reps on each arm. Then we will go on to single arm rows with 2 sets of 8 to 10 reps, followed by dumbbell chest press where they will do 3 sets of 10 reps. Then once they're done, we will do seated shoulder press for 3 sets of 12 reps. Then lastly, we will do hip thrusters where they'll do 3 sets of 15 reps. With the weight my client will use will be determined by the first set on how easy or hard she's finding it, because if she finds it hard, she may have to remain on the weight or even drop it if she doesn't reach the right amount of reps, and if it's too easy, she will have to up the weight. In between every set, she will get 30 seconds to a minute rest. Then on Friday, we will be doing interval training. We will start with a normal warm-up of a light jog and all the main muscle groups in her body that we warm up every session. Then we will start the session. This session is at a local gym and it will start with 10 dumbbell walking lunges on each leg, then followed immediately by 30 seconds of hill sprints on the treadmill with a 1 minute recovery phase. And this will then be completed 4 times, and we will do a cool down doing the same stretches as we did in the warm up.